Have you ever noticed how some men can enter a room and instantly change the atmosphere without saying a word? No flashy clothes, no loud entrances, no empty chatter, just a deep, quiet presence. It's as if they know something the rest of the world doesn't. And the truth is, they do. That's not luck. It's not charm. It's not a vibe. Stillness, and it's one of the most magnetic, powerful forces a man can possess. Stillness is rare because it's earned, not given. When a man becomes truly still, he stops chasing. He no longer feels the need to prove his worth to the world. And here's where it gets fascinating. The moment he stops chasing, everything starts moving toward him. Opportunities, respect, admiration, even the kind of woman who once seemed out of reach. Why? Because people feel safe around stability. They're drawn to quiet confidence like a flame in the dark. Think about it. You've said all the right things, done what society told you to do, and still, she's losing interest. You've worked yourself to the bone, but life still feels chaotic. Why? It's because you're moving on the surface, but you haven't yet anchored yourself beneath it. We're living in an age that constantly pulls men in every direction. We're exhausted, overstimulated, seeking approval, chasing success, chasing women, chasing the next dopamine hit. But very few men stop and ask the one question that changes everything. What if I became the kind of man everything is drawn to? It's not your looks. It's not your bank account. It's not your perfect words. It's your energy, your depth, your ability to remain grounded in a world that keeps trying to knock you off balance. If you don't learn how to cultivate this stillness, every interaction, every relationship will eventually slip through your fingers. Not because you're not trying hard enough, but because you're trying too much without the foundation that holds it all together. Stillness isn't passive. It's not laziness or avoidance. It's intentional. It's the inner strength that allows you to hold your ground without needing to shout. It's the difference between chasing respect and commanding it without a word. Stillness cannot be faked. You can wear the finest suit in the room, drive the most luxurious car, or rehearse lines from every high-value man book out there. But when life really hits, you'll discover quickly that status symbols don't steady the soul. Because in that moment, when the world shakes and she looks into your eyes searching for something unwavering to hold on to, only your inner truth matters. If it's not real, it crumbles. Calm isn't in the accessories. It's not found in your posture or your tone of voice. True calm lives in your breath, in your spine, in your presence when everything else is falling apart. It's what remains when the external is stripped away. Every man, no matter how confident he appears, will face that test. A point where the pressure reveals what's real and what's performance. Women don't fall in love with acclaim. They fall in love with proof. Not the kind you declare, but the kind you embody. It's a kind forged through discomfort, discipline, and delayed gratification. You can't download it, can't imitate it. And you certainly can't fake it because your soul will always reveal the truth when tested. Think back to that argument. Did you raise your voice because she truly disrespected you, or because you lost your center? Remember that missed opportunity was it really out of reach? Or did you doubt your readiness? Recall the chaos you've attracted in your life. It's not that the universe is out to get you. It's that you haven't yet built a foundation that anchors you when the storm hits. You will be moved by emotion, by temptation, by uncertainty, until your mind and body operate in harmony. Until your actions are led by grounded intention rather than reaction. True stillness isn't lack of movement. It's movement from the right place. The moment you stop letting the outside world determine your value, everything changes. You no longer chase validation because you've chosen yourself. You stop explaining, not out of arrogance, but because your presence speaks louder than words. You become the man who keeps his head high, not because he's numb, but because he's focused, rooted in something far stronger than the need for approval. And if you're not there yet, don't panic. You're not behind, you're just exposed. It's vulnerable to people, circumstances, and emotions that can easily unbalance you, but that can change. It starts by building what most men avoid, a foundation so solid that no test, no woman, no storm can shake you. You will continue to be swayed by emotions, temptations, and outside forces until your mind and body become so deeply aligned that nothing can pull you out of balance. That's not just discipline, that's inner freedom. And it only comes when you stop letting the world dictate who you are and start choosing your response moment by moment. What happens when a man finally stops trying to be liked and starts becoming grounded in self-respect? Everything begins to shift. He no longer needs to chase because he's already chosen himself. He no longer explains himself because his energy answers the question before it's even asked. He no longer panics in the face of loss, betrayal, or rejection, not because he's numb, but because he's focused. This kind of man doesn't crumble under pressure, he refines in it. He's not immune to pain, but he doesn't collapse from it. He doesn't fold when she tests his patience or when life disrupts his plans. Why? Because he's built something stronger than approval. He's built himself. And that kind of strength isn't loud, it's silent. It doesn't boast, but it holds. It doesn't scream, it stabilizes. If you haven't built that yet, you're not broken. You're just vulnerable. Vulnerable to manipulation, to situations that test your limits and expose your lack of grounding. You'll keep getting knocked off center until you've had enough. Until you decide no more, and that decision, that's the beginning of becoming unshakable. So how do you get there? You start by waking up earlier than you want to. You train your body even when it hurts. You sit in discomfort without running from it. You journal your thoughts and take back control of your mind. You set boundaries with yourself before expecting others to respect you. You lean into discomfort until it becomes your teacher. When she tests you, you look her in the eye, not to intimidate, but to show her that there's something inside you more stable than the chaos she brings. That kind of man is rare, and what's rare becomes valuable, not because of effort, but because of presence. Stillness, real stillness, doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't perform, doesn't convince. It simply exists like a mountain. In a storm, everything around it begins to orbit that strength. There's a kind of power most people never recognize until it enters the room. It doesn't come from shouting, boasting, or dominating conversations. It comes from stillness, an unshakable presence that speaks louder than any words ever could. The man who understands this doesn't rush to fill silence. He embraces it, because he knows the quietest man in the room is often the one everyone listens to the most. This type of presence can't be faked. It's not about pretending to be calm, it's about becoming calm. When a man has done the inner work, when he's faced his insecurities, his shadows, and his wounds, he no longer needs to prove anything. He doesn't scan for validation. He doesn't seek approval. He simply is. And in that state, people feel him before he speaks. Think about the last time someone walked past you, and without a single word, you just knew he was different. Maybe it was in the way he carried himself. Maybe it was his eyes, his posture, or his unshakable calm. That wasn't luck or wealth. That was a man who built himself in silence over time, until respect wasn't something he demanded. It was something he naturally attracted. The world is loud. Social media, conversations, crowds, they all reward those who talk the most, post the most, react the fastest. But the rarest kind of man chooses something different. He protects his energy. He only speaks when it matters. And when he does speak, his words land heavier not because of volume, but because of truth. Do you want to be that man? And stop trying to fill space just to feel worthy? Stop chasing reactions. Stop speaking to get attention. Your words become powerful when they are no longer driven by desperation. Your energy becomes magnetic when it's rooted in peace, not need. Your silence becomes strength when it carries purpose. When you faced your demons and brought them to heal, your energy shifts. You stop gossiping, stop lying, stop justifying your worth. You let your actions and standards speak long before your voice ever does. You lock eyes with the world not to intimidate, but to reveal a man who has nothing to hide. Because in the end, women don't crave endless words. They crave certainty. They crave the man who speaks without apology, who leads without noise, and who stands firm without ever needing to shout. That man is unforgettable, and his presence alone transforms every room he enters. She may be drawn to your charm, impressed by your ambition, or intrigued by your plans, but those aren't the things that make her stay. What truly captures a woman at her core is what she sees in you when everything is falling apart. Life throws chaos your way, and instead of reacting, you remain composed not out of arrogance, but from true inner strength. She doesn't want you to dominate. She doesn't need you to fix everything. She wants to feel your steadiness when her world feels unstable. This isn't about perfection, it's about clarity. Women are biologically wired to seek safety in a storm. Not physical safety, emotional safety. And when you can hold your ground when she's unraveling, she feels it not just in her mind, but in her soul. Yes, she will test you. It's not because she wants to break you, but because she wants to trust you. She wants to know that when pressure hits, you won't fold. Your strength isn't a mask, but something real and deep-rooted. And if you flinch. If you defend instead of listen. If you plead instead of pause. You confirm what she fears, that your strength is conditional, not consistent. Women don't want to lead your emotional state. They want to feel led by your presence, not controlled, but guided. They don't want to be stronger than you emotionally. They want to rest in the presence of a man who can carry weight not just hers, but his own. Not with force, but with calm direction. The truth is, most men have been trained to do the opposite. We speak when we should listen. We try to fix when we should simply be present. We panic when we should pause. And until we unlearn those habits, we'll continue to attract chaos instead of connection. She's not against you. She's searching for that part of you that doesn't waver when things get uncomfortable. Not a performance, not a facade, but a real lived stability that comes from having wrestled with yourself and chosen patience over panic, direction over defensiveness. When you show up grounded, even in the middle of her storm, you're not just earning trust or creating emotional safety. That kind of presence doesn't just attract. It heals. It settles. Transforms the relationship into something deeper than chemistry, something built on truth. Every time you react without control, you give away your power. Every emotional outburst, every argument entered without clarity, every message sent in fear, it's a withdrawal from your inner bank of strength.
Ow.
And not just in relationships, but in life, it's because reaction by its very nature is surrender. It's the unconscious signal that something outside of you has more control than what's within. The modern world thrives on provocation. Ads poke at your insecurities. Social media bets your pride. People test your patience, intentionally or not, just to see if you'll bite. And most men, they do. They flinch, they lash out, they defend, they explain. They give away their presence trying to regain control. But the rare man, the one who's done the work, he doesn't react, he responds. He pauses when others panic. He walks away when others explode. He holds eye contact without saying a word. And somehow, that silence hits harder than any argument ever could. Why? Because nothing disarms manipulation more than stillness. Nothing confuses chaos more than composure. And nothing commands more respect than restraint. She feels this too. Even if she doesn't say it out loud, she senses it. When you choose not to escalate, when you choose direction over drama, when you leave the room, instead of engaging with disrespects, something shifts. Her respect for you deepens. Her curiosity heightens. And most importantly, your self-respect solidifies. Not everything needs your energy. Not every opinion deserves your reaction. Not every provocation is worth your peace. Sometimes the greatest power move is to say nothing, to do nothing, and to remain centered while everything around you spins. That doesn't mean weakness. That doesn't mean avoidance. It means choosing battles that matter. It means protecting your energy so you can lead with clarity, not exhaustion. It means knowing exactly who you are so the world can no longer shake you. Most men mistake silence for surrender. They think walking away means they've lost. But the opposite is true. Real strength is shown when you know you could act but choose not to, because your peace, your mission, your direction matter more than being right or getting the last word. And every time you choose poise over panic, every time you refuse to engage in chaos, you grow. You train your nervous system to remain calm under pressure, condition your spirit to value peace over power plays. And slowly, you become the man who doesn't just influence the room, he anchors it. There comes a moment in every man's life where he looks around at his collapsing relationship, the pressure of a failing business, the chaos spinning in his mind, and realizes a hard truth. The world won't slow down for him. It won't. Wait for him to catch his breath or ask how he's feeling. It will either crush him more, force him to become stronger than the pressure, and that's when the truth about leadership is revealed. It's not about a title. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room or controlling others. True leadership begins when you learn how to lead yourself, especially when everything around you is on fire. Emotional control isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's not suppressing your feelings or pretending you're unaffected. It's about learning how to direct your emotions instead of letting them direct you. When your partner is spiraling emotionally, can you stay grounded and calm, not to overpower her, but to steady the storm? When your plans fall apart, can you adapt without collapsing into blame or panic? People betray you? Can you stay silent not because you're weak, but because you've evolved? This kind of control is not inherited. It's not something you're born with. It's built in the shadows when no one's watching. It's crafted in early mornings, when you rise to train before the world has a chance to shake you. It's forged in daily discipline through rituals, routines, and non-negotiables that keep you centered. Real leadership is revealed in restraint. It's seen in how you respond to disrespect, to disappointment, to doubt. The man who masters emotional control doesn't need to be followed. He becomes someone others trust instinctively. He becomes the pillar others lean on, not because he demands it, but because his presence creates safety. Start asking yourself the hard questions. Why do I raise my voice when I feel threatened? Why do I seek validation from people who don't even live in truth? Why do I say yes when I mean no? Those are the places your leadership is waiting to be built. And slowly, the anxious version of you, the one who reacts, who pleases, who chases, begins to disappear. In his place rises a man of depth, of presence, of clarity. He doesn't just hold space for others, he holds himself with grace, with focus, with power. There's a level of peace that cannot be shaken, not by drama, not by betrayal, not by sudden change. It's not surface-level peace that disappears the moment things go wrong. It's deep, rooted, built from the inside out. And when a man lives from that place of calm, everything around him either begins to align or fades away. Look closely at the chaos in your life. The arguments, the disrespect, the emotional roller coasters. They're not always signs of bad luck or bad people. Often they're invitations, tests, probes from the universe asking, have you actually built peace within yourself, or are you still seeking it through control? Most of what surrounds you, conflict, confusion, emotional highs and lows, isn't real connection. It's noise. And that noise will continue until you build a center strong enough that it no longer gets a reaction from you. That's when you become untouchable, not because life stops testing you, but because you stop flinching every time it does. She doesn't want you to explode when things get tense. She doesn't need you to collapse when she gets emotional. What she's looking for, deep down, is a man who can stand firm, not with force, but with presence. Someone who won't be shaken when the mood shifts or when the storm comes. Real calm isn't something you turn on when things are good. Right. It's something you've trained into your nervous system. Right. It begins when you choose to sit with discomfort instead of numbing it. It strengthens when you say no without guilt. When you walk away from places that dishonor your peace, not to punish others, but to protect yourself, that's when your calm becomes more than a mood, becomes an identity. And when that happens, everything changes. You're no longer pulled by every trigger, every sigh, every shift in someone else's energy. You become centered, solid, consistent. And that kind of energy is magnetic, not because it's loud, but because it's rare. She feels it. Your calm doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't perform. It's steady, present, and deeply anchored. And the world around you starts to respond differently, not because you asked it to, but because you've become the kind of man who sets the tone, not reacts to it. There's a kind of power that doesn't show itself in the first few dates, that doesn't fade after the first argument, and that doesn't waver when life becomes heavy. It's a quiet, steady force that grows stronger with time. And it's the kind of power that creates long-term attraction, the kind that makes her feel drawn to you years into the relationship. Not because of something you did once, but because of the man you consistently choose to be. Short-term attraction is easy. Any man can act put together for a week. He can buy flowers, speak sweetly, say the right things, even play calm for a little while. But what happens when life gets messy? What happens when she's angry? When the relationship is strained? When the pressure mounts? That's when your depth or lack of IT is exposed. Long-term attraction isn't about charm, it's about consistency. It's about being the same solid man under pressure as you were when everything was smooth. It's about showing her that you don't rise and fall with circumstances, that you are steady, reliable, and grounded, no matter what life throws your way. She doesn't want a man who's impressive. She wants a man who's anchoring, one who doesn't collapse under emotional weight, one who doesn't get lost in her storm, but becomes the calm center of it. That kind of strength doesn't make her feel controlled. It makes her feel safe. And when a woman feels safe, she softens, she opens, she follows. Not because she's weak, but because your energy invites trust. And here's what most men miss. It's not the grand gestures that build lasting attraction, it's the invisible ones. It's the patience you show when she's distant. It's the clarity you hold when she tests your certainty. It's the stillness you maintain when she stirs chaos. Not to destroy, but to see what you're made of. The men who master this don't perform, they live it. They wake up every day and choose alignment over approval. They build routines that sharpen their minds and strengthen their bodies. They speak less, and when they do, it's with weight. They embody what they sand over time. That embodiment builds legacy. So if you want to be unforgettable, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime, stop trying to impress. Start becoming consistent. And let your stillness do what charm never could. Earn her respect, secure her loyalty. And ignite the kind of attraction that doesn't just survive, it deepens. The kind of man she stays with, year after year, isn't the most charming. He's not necessarily the best looking, or the richest, or the most eloquent. The man she stays with, the one she surrenders, to's the one who becomes her emotional home, not through grand words or perfect moves, but through deep-rooted consistency, through calm, through integrity, through quiet strength. He's the one who doesn't change with the wind, the one who holds his frame, even when she tests him. Yes, she will test him, not to tear him down, but to make sure he's real, because every woman, consciously or not, is trying to find out. Can I trust you when I'm not at my best? Can I lose my calm without losing you? And most men fail this test not because they're weak, but because they haven't built themselves enough to withstand it. They flinch. They argue. They try to fix. They seek reassurance. And in doing so, they break the very energy that made her feel safe in the first place. But the man who's done the work, he doesn't waver. When she pulls away, he remains calm. When she pushes, he holds steady. When the emotional climate shifts, he doesn't react, he responds. Not with cold detachment, but with grounded presence. He's not performing, he's living from principle. He leads not with pressure, but with certainty. And that certainty becomes magnetic. It doesn't demand submission, it invites it, because it makes her feel like she can finally stop being strong all the time. It makes her feel safe enough to be soft. And this kind of strength, it's not built overnight. It's forged in solitude, in repetition, in the quiet moments when you choose stillness over reaction, patience over pride, consistency over chaos. When you stop performing and start embodying who you say you are. She doesn't want another man trying to impress her. She wants a man she doesn't have to second guess. A man whose presence speaks louder than promises. A man who walks into the room and without saying a word reminds her, you're safe. I've got me. And because of that, I can hold space For you, too. That's the kind of man she doesn't walk away from. That's the kind of man you become not by trying harder, but by becoming deeper. If you've made it this far, then deep down, you already know the world wasn't built to make you strong. It was designed to distract you, soften you, confuse you, to keep you chasing approval, doubting your instincts, questioning your worth, silencing the voice inside you that was born to lead. But if you're tired of being drained, tired of being disrespected, tired of shrinking in relationships just to keep the peace it ends now, most men will keep repeating the same mistakes in love, in purpose, and in life. They'll keep reacting. Instead of responding, keep seeking validation instead of building self-respect. Keep performing masculinity instead of embodying it. And one day, they'll wake up alone, maybe not physically, but emotionally, hollow wondering where it all went wrong, but not you, because now you've seen behind the curtain. You now understand that chasing doesn't create desire, it kills it. Begging for attention only repels it. That explaining yourself constantly weakens the presence you're supposed to embody. You've started to realize that the most magnetic men aren't the loudest, richest, or most impressive. They're the most aligned, the most self-governed, the most still. And that's why the Stoic relationship blueprint exists, not as a gimmick, not as another empty tactic, but as a roadmap for men who are finally done playing small. Men who are done being manipulated, done tolerating chaos, done bleeding energy into relationships that drain instead of build. It's for the man who's ready to stop reacting and start leading. This blueprint isn't free. It's not watered down. It's raw. It's real. It's only for the man who's ready to take full responsibility for his emotional world. The one who understands that the way forward isn't about being nice or liked. It's about being respected, grounded, and unshakable. So here's your choice. Keep playing the same old game or step into your next level. Become the man who doesn't need to chase because he's become the man that everything comes to naturally. And when you do that, she'll feel it. Life will feel it. Let's be honest. Most men don't need more motivation. What they need is a standard, a code. It's a way of living that doesn't just sound good in theory, but transforms them in practice. Because the world isn't waiting for you to become stronger. It's testing you now. Every relationship, every conversation, every failure. Every day you delay stepping into that standard. You bleed time and energy into things that never respected your value in the first place. We've been fed a diluted version of masculinity. One that tells us to stay quiet, stay small, don't ruffle feathers, be liked at all costs. But here's the truth. No one told us. Being liked doesn't earn loyalty. Pleasing people doesn't. Earn respect. Avoiding conflict doesn't create peace. In fact, it does the opposite. It erodes your power, weakens your energy, and makes you easy to dismiss. You don't become high value by reading quotes or watching videos. You become high value when you live in alignment with your word. When your actions are steady, even when your emotions aren't. When your mornings start with clarity, not chaos. When your boundaries become habits, not reactions. That's when people take notice. Not because you tried to be impressive, but because you became undeniable. Your partner feels this shift. She stops testing your strength because she finally feels it. She stops questioning your direction because your presence answers those questions before they're even asked. And that's when connection becomes deeper than chemistry, becomes anchored in trust. You are not here to chase what you were. Born to attract, you're not here to explain your value to people who can't recognize it. You're here to embody the kind of man who raises the standard, not just for others, but for himself. So stop asking for permission to lead your life. Stop waiting for approval to be the man you already know you were meant to be. The world doesn't need more passive men. It needs men of weight, of clarity, of calm strength. Be that man not just when it's convenient, but when it's hardest, because that's when it matters most. There's a kind of power that doesn't need to shout, doesn't demand the spotlight, doesn't rely on ego, and never chases applause. It's quiet, but it's undeniable. It lives in the way a man carries himself, even when no one is watching. It shows up in his consistency, his clarity, his refusal to be shaken by chaos. This is the power of presence. And once you have it, you don't need to prove anything. In a world full of noise, the calm man stands out. Not because he's trying to butt, because he doesn't have to. He's the one who speaks last, because he listens first. He's the one who holds his ground, not to win, but because truth doesn't require defense. He's the one who walks away from drama without losing a drop of dignity, because his self-worth doesn't live in other people's approval. This man doesn't get pulled into every emotional storm. He doesn't react to every trigger. He knows his power is in his restraint, in his control, in the stillness he maintains, even when life is screaming for him to lose it. And the irony? That stillness makes him unforgettable. Because in a world of men who try to dominate, impress, or beg their way into being seen, his silence becomes louder than their noise. His consistency becomes rare. His standards become attractive. It becomes the anchor in a sea of instability. Women notice it. Other men respect it. But more importantly, he respects himself. This power isn't given. It's earned. It's built when you stop outsourcing your value, when you stop letting your environment dictate your emotions, when you stop shrinking for others and start expanding within. The quiet power that changes everything doesn't come from a book, doesn't come from being liked. It comes from becoming grounded, so deeply grounded in who you are, that nothing outside of you can shake what's within. That's the work. That's the way. And that's who you're becoming. There's a turning point every man must reach when he stops trying to explain himself and starts showing through action. When he stops debating with those who misunderstand him and simply becomes undeniable. Now, that moment is when boyhood ends and manhood begins. Most men waste energy trying to convince others. Convince her he's good enough. Convince friends he's successful. Convince family he's doing the right thing. But here's the truth. The more you explain yourself, the less people believe you. The more you chase being understood, the more you drift from becoming respected. You weren't born to argue. You were born to lead. Leadership starts with inner clarity. You must know what you stand for before anyone else can follow you. Here's the hard part. Begins in silence. In making decisions without needing applause. In setting boundaries without announcing them. In holding yourself to a higher standard even when no one's watching. This doesn't mean you become cold or emotionless. It means you become firm, anchored, purposeful. It means your words carry weight because they come from alignment, not desperation. You don't speak to be heard. Speak because it matters. When you do, people listen differently. There's a quiet strength in not reacting, in walking away without a word, in letting others discover who you are by watching how you move, not by hearing what you say. The more you lead through presence, the less you need to prove through performance. So stop arguing. Stop begging to be understood. Instead, embody your truth so deeply that it can't be ignored. Walk in a way that demands attention, not through volume, but through grounded purpose. Because real leaders don't chase influence, they attract it. The man who doesn't fight for respect, he earns it. And in a world full of noise, that kind of leadership becomes impossible to overlook. When you stop chasing, something remarkable happens. Life begins to respond differently. The people around you notice. The energy you once poured outward begins to build inward. You stop scattering yourself trying to be enough for everyone, and start becoming more than enough for yourself. That's when everything changes. Most men have been taught that effort equals worth, that the more you prove, pursue, and perform, the more likely you are to win love, success, or respect. But that's a lie, because chasing is rooted in lack. It says, I don't have it, so I must run after it. And anything pursued from lack only multiplies your emptiness. But when you pause, when you stand still in your purpose, centered in your values, you radiate a different kind of energy. It's not desperation, it's groundedness. It's not performance, it's presence. And presence is magnetic. You see, the man who doesn't chase is not passive, he's powerful. He knows where he's going, and he refuses to dilute himself just to be accepted along the way. He doesn't compromise his truth for temporary attention. He doesn't trade his peace for cheap validation. He understands that everything meant for him will come not through force, but through alignment. And yes, People might call it arrogance. They might say you're too distant or too serious. Let them, because you know the truth. You're not. Distant here, focused. You're not serious, you're intentional. You're no longer here to entertain distractions. You're here to elevate your standards and honor your worth. This energy doesn't just transform your relationships, it transforms your life. Opportunities start finding you. The right people begin respecting you without you asking. Your silence carries more weight than your old explanations ever could. So walk with clarity, walk with discipline. Walk like a man who knows who he is and what he brings. Because once you stop chasing, you don't just gain peace, you gain power. And that's when the world begins to notice, not because you begged for it, but because you became undeniable.